My name is Roger Avery. I'm a professional engineer in California. I'm retired engineering manager of the subway system. I'm listening to the discussion about putting charging stations down along the freeway, and then I have a terrifying picture, and it sounds facetious, but it's not meant to be, but it's funny, that every 40 miles I stop, buy a cup of coffee, because I've only got 40 miles range on my vehicle. If I want to drive down to LA, it'll take me 24 hours or something ridiculous to get there. And I think this is something in this whole discussion that we need to address.
Starbucks likes it, but no one else. So, yeah.
Well, one thing that I would say is that, and oftentimes, especially in the last several years, you would hear people throw up objections to the idea of driving a plug-in vehicle by saying, I drive too often, I drive too far, I can't drive an electric vehicle. In that case, then maybe doing what Jay does, which is having a fully plug-in vehicle, might not fit your lifestyle. You might want to go with a extended range plug-in vehicle or a plug-in hybrid vehicle, one of which I drove from our headquarters in Campbell to Chico, which was our very first paying customer with Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. That was in early 2009. I drove a extended range plug-in hybrid vehicle from Campbell to Chico, which was 250 miles in each direction and back in one day, 500 miles. Now, anybody who would object and say they drive too much, I would say, do you ever drive more than 500 miles in a day? Because I did it in a plug-in vehicle, and I used 4 gallons of gas. That's 125 miles to the gallon. So would a full battery-powered electric vehicle get you that far? Not on today's technology. Someday soon, as the battery technology, the chemistry, and the density of batteries gets far, far better, instead of it being the size of a suitcase and taking you 100 miles that a Nissan Leaf battery would be, we're going to get to different battery chemistries, and you're going to see a battery that's the size of a dictionary that'll take us 300 or 400 miles. The Chinese battery manufacturers are already talking about those kinds of leaps in technology. When we get to that point, then the idea of having to stop every 40 miles will be quaint and antiquated. But for today, if you need to drive to Lake Tahoe several times a winter, then you're probably going to need a plug-in hybrid rather than a battery-powered vehicle.
Well, or let me even add, one of my favorite stories is I was at an event in San Francisco, and someone, and I've learned to ask this question, but basically someone came up and said, well, what if I want to go to Tahoe? And I've learned to ask, well, how often do you go to Tahoe? And it turned out the person said, well, I've never been to Tahoe. and what it really brought home to me is that we have this concept, and I think it's pretty American, but it's also just car consumer of what I call aspirational trips. You buy a car for what you think is going to be the farthest you're ever going to drive it. Well, I think what we need to do is really change that model. So what I would much prefer to do is have my electric vehicle and join Zipcar or City Car Share, and when I need to make those 3 trips a year to Tahoe, or if I need to go down to LA and I'm going to drive, then I could take and just swap my car, and everybody's happy with that. So, I mean, I think that there are other paradigms that work where we don't have to be so ownership.
We do advanced vehicle testing for the DOE, all their advanced vehicle testing, and we also consulting for most of the major auto manufacturers. And while we don't have a Moore's curve yet for batteries, it's coming, and we're seeing advances every day. And so what I see is a vision where somebody like A Better Place is going to offer a car that has two different battery configurations. All the vehicle companies are going to offer vehicles where 100-mile range and maybe a 200-mile range version of it, so that you can pay for your aspirations. If 100 miles is satisfactory, you're going to have a lower cost car and use public charging and your home charging. If you need that range, you pay for it.